Hi all, it's Karen and
Pluto.
here for Karen and Pluto's on another review channel with another movie review. This is a little
funny one.
different for this channel. We decided to be ambitious.
I did.
Yeah, Pluto kind of decided we were doing this.
For fun.
And we decided we were going to review a Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movie.
Because you like Full House.
Yeah, I love Full House growing up.
I don't.
But we got this off a DVD, Netflix on DVD on Netflix, wherever you want to call it. It's actually one of their older ones, and
which is more tolerable.
It was a lot more tolerable. It wasn't. It was kind of enjoyable, but it was like one of those things that was
it's
so
really
stupid,
but it's fun.
It was fun to do. So it's called New York Minutes. It's an hour and 31 minutes, PG, from 2004.
Looks like it.
So 15 years ago. Yeah, and it does.
It resembles 2004.
Yeah. So basically, we have his opening dream sequence with Jane, who's one of the twins.
Which one?
I don't know.
Okay.
Jane's one twin, Roxy's the other one. I can't tell who's Mary-Kate and who's Ashley.
Me either.
So basically what it comes down to with these two girls is they're total opposites of each other. Jane is like a total neat freak, need everything in order, where like Roxy's this rocking out slob, basically.
Not like you.
So it comes down to that they're basically living with their dad. Their mom died at some point. You know, happy movie.
Is this a Disney?
I don't think so. Oh. But their dad is an OB doctor, and baby doctor. OB doctor. He delivers babies. Because remember, he gets called to the hospital before he eats breakfast, and he says about so-and-so being in labor or whatever.
I must have missed that part.
Yeah. So basically, kind of all this, Jane kind of has taken on the mom role and is trying to take care of dad and everything. So Roxy's trying to get out of school again, apparently, and because she's trying to get to some, what was the name of the group?
I don't know. She wants to get her demo to a band.
Yeah, I don't know if I have it written down, I think, somewhere, but basically she kind of gets in charge to get her group's demo CD to these record people.
Band or the band,
yeah, something like that. So, and this band's filming a video in New York. So she has her dad sign a field trip, and then she copies the signature and faxes a fake excuse. I think that she has chicken pox or something.
Good signature.
So basically, they go and leave to go to the bus station, Jane and Roxy, so they can both get to New York because Jane's going to
give a speech somewhere.
She's trying to get some big fellowship, and she has to go to some college, university to give it. And I can't remember the name of it.
Not important.
Not important. So anyways, as they're leaving, the truancy officer, played by Eugene Levy, who was he CarMax or something like that? I can't remember.
Sounds like a car company.
Yeah. He's been trying to catch Roxy for years, and he takes his job a little too seriously. So, in the middle while they're going, and Jane's like on this time thing, like we have to leave at this time. We have to so we arrive by this time and so forth.
Like you.
And Roxy ends up stopping by a friend's place to get the demo CDs. Lomax, that's his last name. It's Lomax, but okay. I'm pretty sure his first name was Max. Eventually, somehow he crosses past Mrs. Roxy leaving. Lomax busts the other kids that are there and arrests them at a pool party, and they're going to get detention for life. And like the one police officer is there is like, dude, you take this way too seriously. Is that why you failed the police academy or something like that? And he goes, I'm going to catch her, and then they're going to be happy to have me. Whatever.
That got annoying. So
basically, the girls eventually get on the train. They're arguing back and forth about things. And there's this guy that's in the middle of them that they end up dumping his hot coffee on him and everything else, and he gets mad and leaves. Well, Roxy didn't buy a ticket to get on the bus, or the train, I mean. So she ends up getting kicked off, and the train person comes through later and sees Jay's still sitting there. He's like, what is this? I just kicked you off. And she goes, no, I have a ticket. Well, she can't find her ticket. So she gets kicked off the train, ends up running into this guy. I want to say his name's Eric. did try to look it up.
Don't
On a
matter.
motorcycle, and it's kind of like starry eyes and hearts, and
Oh, that
he's
guy.
so
The guy with the
cute.
changing hair.
Yeah, this guy's hair was dark and then blonde and then dark and blonde. Yeah.
You didn't notice that.
I didn't notice it till later in the movie. So,
You know, it's kind of dumb.
basically, Jane ends up getting her skirt stuck in this guy's bike, and they end up ripping it.
I thought you
And she's like freaking out because it's not going according to plan.
Get to the car part.
So
Funny.
Roxy is standing on the sidewalk or something, and this guy comes up behind her, and he's making motions with this other guy who's played by Andy Richter. I can't remember his name in the movie.
He's funny.
But they're basically like, he's saying about this like chip thing he has basically. Well, all of a sudden the police show up, so this guy puts the chip in Roxy's bag before he gets arrested.
Yep.
So the limo driver comes over and offers Roxy a ride, and she goes to Jane like, hey, I got us a ride, let's go. So they're going to New York. Well, eventually once they get to a certain location, he turns around like, Chinese proverb, you should never accept ride from stranger, and he locks them in the limo. So naturally, they start freaking out, and here begins the hijinks. So there's a sunroof, so they climb out the sunroof to escape, and they're getting chased by him and everything else, and they eventually get away from each other. Chaos ensues, but we also kind of learned, since their mother died, the girls have not spent much time with each other, so they don't know a lot of things about each other.
They learn a lot about each other.
Yeah, they learn about each other as we go through this movie.
That's important.
So, basically, the limo driver is calling his mom, who he was adopted by, because she's a Chinese woman, and she's like, we need that chip, because basically this chip has, like, illegally downloaded music and movies, and they're like, we make the CDs and movies, and we sell them.
I thought it was pirated music.
Yeah, basically. Pirated music, and they're basically like, we sell it to teenagers before it comes out or whatever. Well,
Yep.
Here Jane left her day planner behind in the limo, so he's like, aha. So the girls eventually sneak in because they're like messed up and everything at this point, and they're like, okay, we need to get freshened up and everything. So they're
makeover time.
So they sneak into a hotel, and as this woman's leaving her room, Roxy stops the door, gets in there, and they're trying to get freshened up and everything.
Oh, skipping ahead.
And all of a sudden, this woman's son shows up. His name's Trey, played by Jared Padalecki, which I did not know he was in this.
He's so hot.
No, I was just very surprised to see him in this. So, at first, because he sees Roxy, who's in a towel on the bed, and then James gets out of the bathroom, and he's like, whoa, is this my like thinking, I don't know if he thought he got a strippergram or what, but he was just like,
my birthday?
Yeah. So eventually it comes out that like the room they broke into is some senator or congresswoman, and Jane's like freaking out like, oh my God, because she's a little Miss Perfect and everything. So Roxy was cleaning out her purse, and she took the chip out of her purse and had it sitting on a tray. Well, there was this dog, I can't remember his name, who eats the damn chip.
Hey, why not?
Hey, why not? Let's add a little bit more to this. So
Probably would eat it.
So they're like passing the dog around. All of a sudden, the dog gets thrown out the window.
That's funny.
Which this one laughed a little too hard at that point.
It's funny.
Well, here the dog's on the ledge. So Jane's going out trying to get the dog because they're like, okay, we need the dog to get my day planner back from this guy because he had called in the middle of all this. Oh, Simple Plan. That was the band.
Yep.
So they're basically, it gets to the point then they are on the window washer thing. They end up falling in the trash, and then they're running around in New York in a bathrobe and a bath towel. And we have a cameo by Bob Saget at this point, which was funny because he's just kind of looking, and it's it's just.
And he was like, "Wow, yeah, they're hot."
So eventually, they find this merchant selling I Love New York clothing. So Jane gives up her watch so they can get clothes, and they're basically like, Jane's like, I'm going to give this dog to the guy, get my day planner back, and that's it. I'm done. I got my speech to give in like 3 hours. Like, she's checking the time the whole time. So Roxy's like, okay, whatever. So she goes to the Simple Plan video shoot, which somehow she let Trey know in the meantime, and they ran back into Bicycle Guy in the middle of all this too.
Little far.
So, yeah, like I said, it's just too much going on. So Roxy eventually does get into the video shoot, as does Jane, after she realizes the limo driver hitman dude wasn't going to give her back her planner or anything. So she escaped with the dog, and Roxy does get her CDs to their management or the record management or whatever for review. And then in the middle of all this, Lomax shows up as well, the truancy officer. He does catch Roxy, but then she ends up saying something about his fly being down or something. She's able to get away, and they end up on stage, and somehow Jane ends up on stage, and you know, they're shooting everything and they're on TV, but their dad, who they briefly show in the hospital, doesn't see them on TV because he happens to not be looking when they're on the screen.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those gags.
So it gets to the point where Lomax has them cornered on one side, and then the hitman has them cornered on the other side. So they stage dive off, so to get over the crowd, even with the dog's crowd surfing himself. And then Lomax tries to stage dive after him.
You know what happened there. That was so predictable.
Yeah, they all split and he goes flat. And one of the singers is like, or the singer for Simple Plan is like, dude, that must hurt. So,
dude.
Whoa. So they're still trying to escape Lomax, and they see this tent at the end of the road that they're running down at the end of the sidewalk. So they're like, oh, we'll hide in there. Well, they end up going, and it ends up being a water main tunnel. So they end up getting saturated again.
They're in the sewer.
They're
gonna run.
And they're talking about like this. Roxy says, despite them not spending time together recently, that and everything that's happened, that she's having fun. But Jane kind of gets upset about it, and she's like, I just want to get away from you. That's why I'm going this fellowship, because it's in Oxford, which is over in England, and it's 3,000 miles away from you. And
boy, she really don't like her.
Yeah. So eventually they end up in, I don't know if it's Harlem or what, but they end up coming up from this tunnel and running into this shop. I think it was called Blinged Out or something. And it's all these African American women doing different things. And like, they eventually end up having a whole musical montage where the girls get made up and changed and everything. And Lomax shows up in the area, and like, he's the only white guy in this area, and he's trying to like direct all these African American people to do stuff, and they're looking like, who is this guy? And in fact, they make a racial comment too at some point about white people. But anyways, I mean, it's all in fun, because he starts flashing his badge, and the head lady who actually plays on Grey's Anatomy, and I can't think of the actress's name, tells her son to give the girls the keys to his taxi so they can escape. I put on here during the Bling Out scene, they were focusing on the booty a lot.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So,
get to the car chase.
In the middle of all this too, the hitman ended up kidnapping Trey because he said he knew where the girls were at. So he calls the girls and tells them to meet him in Times Square. And they're still running in this taxi, and Lomax is chasing them in an RV. It's just so goofy. And they end up picking up the one guy that they had crossed on the train and everything, and caused him to spill his coffee all over himself again.
Yeah, that guy.
They start arguing again over the responsibility since mom had died. And that I think Roxy says about how she's being pushed away and everything. So eventually, Jane goes to meet with the hitman. She ends up getting kidnapped, her and the dog. Roxy goes to try to find Jane in the day planner, and here she finds Trey locked in the trunk of the limo.
That's funny.
So Roxy has the day planner, and they're looking at the time, and she's like, I think it's Columbia she has to go to. I can't remember in the movie, but Roxy's like, do you feel like going on a field trip with me? So Roxy's going to go to the university to give the speech that Jane's supposed to give. So Jane actually finds out what the hitman's family is doing, because she's locked in this one room while he's waiting for the dog to poop out the chip. and he's like trying to encourage the dog, and she's
finds
looking
CDs.
and she finds CDs movies. She's like, this isn't even out yet, and then she kind of figures out what's going on. So she starts making a bunch of noise in there when the mom comes down. She's like going to cut the dog open to get the chip out at this point. So Jane's like, no, you're not going to do that. So she's knocking stuff around, and they open the door, and she ends up escaping, getting the dog, running. Yeah, Columbia. I was right. So basically, we cut back to Roxy trying to give Jane's speech. And Trey goes to sit in the audience, and his mom's there, and, you know, a lot of predictability is what it comes down
but
to.
you gotta roll with it.
So Jane while she's escaping, she runs into the guy on the bike. Like I said, I have Eric in my mind for some reason, but I'm not sure if that's right.
Important.
And she's like, can you give me a ride? So he ends up taking her to Columbia so she can give her speech. Roxy's trying to give the speech, but while she walks on stage, she loses all of Jane's cards that were in meticulous order.
Like you.
And so she's just kind of rambling on and on. Well, then Jane eventually shows up, and like total chaos ensues. Because Jane's trying to get up there. Roxy takes the dog. She's standing over to the side of the cage. Lomax shows up to take Roxy in. Well, then the hitman and his mom show up saying that's their dog. And this the congressperson woman's like, no, that's my dog. And it's just total chaos. And basically Lomax ends up stepping in and like pretty much saving the day. But it's because Jane basically, because whenever they're asking what's going on, Jay stands up and like, she basically praises that Lomax came up with this whole idea on how to catch them and using herself and Roxy as decoys to.
He's like,
and he's like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, no, yeah, sure. So basically, they're leaving.
everything's cool.
Everything's cool. They leave. Bad guys are taken care of. Jane and Roxy are standing outside, and Roxy's kind of apologizing because the gentleman that they spilled the coffee on a few times stands up and goes, what was your speech about? And all Roxy said was, it would have beat any of their speeches, and I should know I listen to her practice every night.
Yep.
So they're standing outside talking, and Roxy's kind of apologizing, and Jane's like, oh, it's okay, you know, whatever. Well, the guy shows up, and I can't remember his name, and he is like the head person of the fellowship, and he found her cards and just basically said, you know what, yeah, this was a good speech. He goes, but I liked the fact that he basically said because she did everything she could to get there and didn't give up and offers her the fellowship.
See?
So it's like, yay, everybody's happy. So we cut to that summer. Roxy's recording with her band in the studio, and they're going on tour over in London. Jane's getting ready for the fellowship over there. The bike dude shows up.
Biker guy.
The Eric, Mike, whatever the hell his name is. Yeah. And he kept saying, he's like, they were, I guess, supposed to do a long distance thing. And he kind of comes in and says, I can't really do that. And she's like, oh, okay, whatever. And he goes, no, I'm going to transfer so we can be together.
Oh.
And then Lomax shows up and he became a police officer. So everything ended happy except Mom's still dead.
Like on Full House.
Yeah, pretty much. So, like I said, don't go in with high expectations. I mean, I think we went in kind of knowing it wasn't going to be like Academy Award winning acting or anything.
I got through it.
But it was, I mean, it kept my attention because I'm just
better than none.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't all that bad. Am I going to watch it again? Probably not. May I check out a couple of their other ones? Maybe
when they're older.
Yeah. I don't think I could have watched any of the younger ones, but like I said, it was an okay movie. I can't like really bash it or anything other than
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's a product of 2004.
It's predictable. It's, you know, happy ending if you want all that stuff.
Like Full House.
Except Mom's dead still. So
like Full House.
Yeah, like Full House. But that is it for this review. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, bell icon so you know when we post new content. What, are you gonna spit a hawker?
No, my mouth is dry. Need a drink.
Anyways, help share the page. Greatly appreciate it. Comment if there's something you want to review. Check out Amazon wish list. We'll let you know if we have it or not. If we don't have it, if you want to help us out and send it to us, I'll add it. You guys know the spiel. Check out my other channel, K-Dog Games, Toys, and More. I think that's it. Balloon needs a drink. I need a drink. So we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.